I never imagined that the turning point in my rather meticulously ordinary life, one filled with the humdrum routines of cleaning, cooking, and the occasional indulgence in a vigorous fitness session, would come in the form of a rather striking, well-groomed Doberman named Dexter. Yet here I am, Agata, 53 years old and living in a quiet corner of Springfield. And as I recount the beginnings of this unexpected journey, I can't help but marvel at how the smallest twist of fate transformed my solitary afternoons into something altogether more vivid and, dare I say, thrilling. My husband, Richard, a dedicated professional who spends more time away on business trips than at home, thought it would be a kind gesture to gift me this loyal companion, a decision that initially I regarded with a mixture of bemusement and mild annoyance. After all, I had grown accustomed to the predictable cadence of a life where my greatest distractions were the hum of the vacuum and the rhythmic pulse of my treadmill. Yet, as I soon discovered, Dexter's presence was anything but mundane. From the very first day that I set eyes on him, a creature of noble bearing with a gaze that seemed to pierce the very layers of my loneliness, I felt a peculiar stirring within me, one that was as confusing as it was exhilarating. I recall the moment vividly. I was in the middle of my afternoon yoga routine in the sunlit living room, stretching languidly to a playlist of classic rock ballads, when Dexter, with an elegance that belied his muscular frame, trotted over and sat at my feet, his large eyes silently urging me to pay attention. It was as if he had taken on the role of an unspoken confidant, a companion who understood without the need for words, and in that instant, the solitude that had long settled around me like a heavy, unyielding cloak began to lift, replaced by a gentle, almost electric sense of anticipation. I must confess, there is a certain thrill in discovering that someone, whether human or canine, can evoke in you a rush of emotions so profound that the mundane aspects of daily existence seem to dissolve into insignificance. Dexter quickly became more than a pet. He became the repository for the silent secrets of my heart, the embodiment of a passion that I had thought was long extinguished by the predictable rhythms of suburban life, and a marriage that, while stable, had lost its spark amid the demands of careers and responsibilities. I found myself spending long hours in quiet companionship with him, often speaking aloud as though he were an old friend who could comprehend every nuance of my thoughts, recounting memories of my youth, sharing my dreams, and even confessing my deepest frustrations, things I had long kept hidden from Richard, whose growing suspicion, though never openly voiced, hinted at his own understanding that something was shifting between us. In the soft, golden light of late afternoon, as the shadows grew longer across the hardwood floor and the world outside seemed to slow down to a lazy, indifferent crawl, I discovered that Dexter's attentive presence could evoke a sense of comfort and intimacy that I had never experienced with anyone else in recent years. There was no pretension in our interactions, no need for the elaborate facades that sometimes characterized human relationships. Instead, there was an honesty, a raw and uncomplicated connection that, despite its apparent simplicity, carried an undercurrent of passion and desire, a desire not for physical indulgence in the forbidden sense, but for a deep emotional resonance that filled the void left by Richard's prolonged absences. I am fully aware that my affection for Dexter might be interpreted by some as an oddity, perhaps even a betrayal of the traditional marital vows, yet I find myself unapologetic in this unexpected shift of loyalty. Every time Richard's footsteps echo in the hallway or his voice resonates through the intercom, I simply offer a playful smile and a quip that deflects any probing inquiry, confident in the secret that only Dexter and I share. There is an art to navigating such complexities, a delicate dance between the roles of devoted wife and a woman who is awakening to her own long-dormant desires. And while I know that society might frown upon such unconventional attachments, I am determined to embrace this part of myself without regret or hesitation. Thus, as the day fades into twilight and I settle into another quiet evening with Dexter by my side, I can't help but feel that this new chapter in my life, replete with its unforeseen intimacies and subtle intrigues, is only just beginning. Little do I know that the bond we share will soon challenge the boundaries of convention, stirring emotions and questions that I once believed had been buried deep beneath the surface of an unremarkable life. And so, dear reader, as you join me in this recounting of events that are as strange as they are compelling, prepare to be drawn into a narrative that defies the ordinary, where passion and intrigue lurk just beneath the veneer of suburban monotony, promising revelations that will leave you questioning the true nature of love and companionship. In the weeks following that fateful afternoon, as summer's slow heat began to settle over Springfield, my life took on an entirely new rhythm, one that was both mesmerizing and at times disconcertingly unfamiliar. Every morning, as I prepared my coffee with the precision of a well-rehearsed ritual, I would steal a glance at Dexter as he lounged near the window, his gaze following the first beams of sunlight with a quiet intensity that seemed to mirror my own inner awakening. In those moments, I felt as though our hearts had found a secret synchrony, a delicate interplay of mutual understanding that transcended the simple bounds of companionship. It was as if his very presence whispered promises of unspoken adventures, of days that would unfold in unexpected ways, leaving behind the faded echoes of a life once defined solely by routine and polite domesticity. As the days grew longer, my afternoons began to transform into a series of intimate vignettes that revolved around our shared moments. I found myself adopting new habits, spending extra time in the backyard with Dexter, letting the warmth of the sun mingle with the energy he exuded in every enthusiastic bound and gentle nudge. I began to talk to him about my day, the little annoyances and the secret joys that rarely saw the light of day in my conversations with Richard. There was a peculiar solace in those exchanges, a raw, unfiltered space where the usual masks of decorum and pretense were shed without fear of judgment. I would recount memories of my youth, tales of love and loss, and even the dreams I harbored in the quiet solitude of the night. In his unwavering, soulful gaze, I discovered an empathy that felt both exhilarating and liberating. This growing intimacy, however, was not without its complications. Richard, whose business trips had always provided him a convenient distance from the intricacies of our daily life, started to exhibit subtle signs of curiosity, and perhaps a touch of unease, as he began to notice my prolonged absences during our evenings together, as well as the whispered conversations I'd share with Dexter while I sat on the back porch. I remember one evening, as the last vestiges of twilight surrendered to a starry night, Richard's raised eyebrow and half-smile served as a silent query that he wasn't entirely prepared to voice aloud. His eyes, though warm, betrayed a spark of suspicion. And yet, with a blend of coy humor and a practiced nonchalance, I would simply brush off his concerns with a light-hearted remark about the unpredictability of life, leaving him to wonder if there were ever any true answers to be found. In truth, I relished these moments, the dance of near revelations and silent understandings that flitted just at the edge of our domestic routine. Even as I navigated this delicate balancing act, the allure of Dexter's presence grew stronger with each passing day. I started to discover a fierce protectiveness in myself, a sense of ownership over these stolen hours of shared intimacy that belonged solely to the two of us. There were mornings when, as I laced up my sneakers for a brisk walk around our neighborhood, Dexter would trot alongside me with an almost palpable eagerness, his every step igniting a dormant spark within me that I had long thought buried beneath layers of obligation and the endless predictability of married life. With every shared glance and every silent exchange of mutual trust, I felt as though I was reclaiming a part of myself that had been quietly eroded by the relentless march of time and the constant hum of suburban monotony. Yet amidst all this renewal, I couldn't help but acknowledge a simmering tension, a paradoxical mix of satisfaction and defiance. I had, in many ways, embarked on an emotional journey that defied societal expectations, forging a connection that seemed both intensely personal and, admittedly, unconventional. My affection for Dexter was not born of mere whimsy or a desperate need to escape loneliness. It was the crystallization of a profound rediscovery of desire, the kind of passion that many believe only exists in the fervent years of youth. I had found in him a reflection of my own hidden depths, a capacity to love fiercely and without restraint. And even as I navigated the occasional side glance or the furtive question from Richard, I found solace in the unspoken truth that I was, at long last, experiencing the vibrant spectrum of emotions that had been locked away in the confines of routine for so many years. So, as I pen these thoughts by the soft glow of a table lamp, with Dexter sleeping soundly at my feet, a silent, steadfast guardian of our newfound world, I am struck by the realization that life has a curious way of leading us to the very edges of our comfort zones. With each passing day, I embrace the ambiguity of this secret alliance, reveling in the delicate balance of passion and reason that defines our clandestine moments together. There is an art in weaving desire into the fabric of the everyday, in transforming what many would dismiss as a mere quirk of fate into an exquisite tapestry of experiences that challenge convention and ignite the soul. And so, as I step into the unfolding chapters of my life, I welcome the uncertainties with a defiant smile, ready to savor every enigmatic, thrilling moment that this unusual companionship promises to bring. As autumn crept into Springfield with its cooler breezes and a gentle rustle of falling leaves, I found myself increasingly adrift in a world that felt both familiar and startlingly new. A realm where the mundane rhythms of daily life were interlaced with secret moments that belonged only to Dexter and me. Each day unfolded like a carefully guarded play, and I, Agata, reveled in every scene that challenged the boundaries of the ordinary. The mornings had grown crisp, and while I continued my routine of preparing coffee and tidying up the house with an air of practiced nonchalance, there was a newfound intensity in the way I anticipated our time together. Dexter's eyes, glinting with a mix of mischief and understanding, beckoned me toward a private universe that lay beyond the confines of a conventional marriage. I would often catch myself pausing at the doorway between the kitchen and the living room, lingering in that moment of transition when the responsibilities of the day seemed to blur into the tender promise of what awaited us. It was during these fleeting intervals that I felt the first true stirrings of rebellion, a defiant joy that whispered of secrets too sweet to be shared with the rest of the world. Evenings became a sanctuary where time decelerated, allowing me to immerse myself in the quiet yet profound communion with my loyal companion. After Richard's occasional and fleeting returns, which were marked by brief greetings and polite exchanges that did little to penetrate the veil of my inner life, I would retreat to the secluded corner of our backyard. There, under the soft glow of vintage string lights, Dexter and I would embark on long walks that were punctuated by moments of playful banter and silent confidences. I found that his unwavering presence gave me the freedom to explore my emotions, to let go of the self-imposed limitations that had long held me captive in a life of obligatory propriety. I began to document these moments in a private journal, each entry an ode to the profound connection I shared with him. In the delicate interplay of his gentle nudges and my soft, assured laughter, there was an elegance that defied the harsh scrutiny of societal norms. I wrote of the way his sleek coat shimmered in the twilight and how his soulful eyes seemed to reflect the complexities of my heart, resonating with a truth that was both unsettling and exhilarating. This was not a love born of mere loneliness, nor was it a desperate bid to escape the monotony of domestic life. It was rather the unearthing of a raw, unfiltered passion that had lain dormant for decades, a passion that, against all odds, found its voice in the subtle language of glances and quiet gestures. I must admit that each clandestine moment carried with it the weight of risk, a delicious, dangerous flirtation with the forbidden. Richard's growing suspicions, though never voiced outright, added a delicious undercurrent of tension to our carefully orchestrated routine. I would notice him lingering in the doorway, his eyes searching for the trace of my secret indulgences. Yet I met his silent inquiries with a well-practiced smile and a wry remark that deflected any real concern. There was an art to this balancing act, a careful choreography of words and silences that allowed me to live in two worlds simultaneously, the world of expected marital duties and the world where my heart had chosen an unconventional confidant. The more I immersed myself in this duality, the more I found that Dexter's presence had awakened something within me, a fierce independence and a renewed sense of self-worth that I had not felt in years. I began to see the beauty in asserting my own desires, in reclaiming the narrative of my life from the dull routines and expectations that had long dictated my existence. With each shared smile, each softly spoken secret in the stillness of the night, I was rediscovering the vibrant woman I had once been, a woman who loved with abandon and who refused to be confined by the conventional boundaries of marriage and duty. There were moments when the juxtaposition of my two worlds felt almost surreal. The polite smiles exchanged over dinner with Richard, contrasting sharply with the intimate whispers shared beneath the canopy of stars. Yet it was precisely in that collision of realms that I found the exhilarating pulse of my own autonomy. Dexter's silent companionship offered me the freedom to explore the depths of my emotions without the constraints of judgment or expectation. In his steadfast loyalty, I recognized a mirror reflecting my own hidden truths, a truth that was as unapologetic as it was transformative. Now, as the chill of evening settles over Springfield and I sit by the window, watching the leaves dance their final waltz with the wind, I am filled with an abiding sense of anticipation for the chapters yet unwritten. My heart beats in rhythm with the quiet promise of tomorrow, a promise of further self-discovery, of passion rekindled in unexpected places, and of a life that refuses to be confined by the ordinary. In this delicate dance between duty and desire, I am learning that true fulfillment lies in the courage to embrace the complexities of our inner worlds, even when they lead us down paths less traveled. Thus, as I pen these words, I invite you to journey further with me into a realm where the boundaries of convention blur, where every whispered secret and shared glance holds the promise of liberation. In this unfolding narrative of self-discovery and quiet rebellion, I remain unapologetically true to the woman I am, complex, captivating, and ever ready to rewrite the rules of her own destiny. As winter began to drape Springfield in a soft, shimmering blanket of frost, the delicate interplay of passion and rebellion that had so thoroughly redefined my existence reached a crescendo, one that demanded a reckoning with the choices I had made and the truths I had discovered along the way. In the quiet solitude of our home, now adorned with the muted elegance of the season, I found myself reflecting on the duality of my life, the familiar obligations of a long-standing marriage on one hand, and the stirring, unconventional bond I shared with Dexter on the other. It was a collision of worlds that both unsettled and enchanted me, a reminder that life's most profound revelations often arise from the tension between what is expected and what is truly felt. In the early hours of a particularly frosty morning, as I watched my breath mingle with the chill in the air outside our window, I realized that this new chapter was not merely about the stolen moments of intimacy or the thrill of defiance. It was about rediscovering the woman I once was, and in many ways, always had been. Dexter, with his unwavering loyalty and soulful eyes, had become a mirror in which I saw both the hidden facets of my heart and the fierce determination to live life on my own terms. Every time he rested his head against my hand during our quiet moments, I was reminded that genuine connection, even in its most unconventional form, could awaken a dormant spirit and breathe life into a world that had long felt colorless. The transformation within me was subtle yet irrevocable. I began to approach each day with a renewed sense of purpose, embracing both the responsibilities of my role as a wife and the newfound passion that Dexter had ignited in me. I took long walks in the crisp winter air, allowing the icy tendrils of cold to sharpen my senses and clear my mind, while Dexter trotted faithfully by my side. A silent confidant who seemed to understand the unspoken language of my soul. Our walks became rituals of quiet rebellion, moments where I allowed myself to feel fully alive, liberated from the constraints of expectation and the monotony of a life carefully curated by societal norms. Yet even as I reveled in this revitalized existence, the complexity of my situation grew more pronounced. Richard, my husband, had begun to notice the changes, both in the way I carried myself and in the subtle shift in our daily routines. His glances were now tinged with a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. And though he never voiced his concerns outright, there was an undeniable tension that simmered beneath the surface of our interactions. I was acutely aware of the tightrope I was walking, a balancing act that required both the artful deflection of probing questions and the courage to stay true to the desires that had emerged from within me. With each passing day, I honed this delicate dance, offering him reassuring smiles and witty retorts that deflected suspicion while concealing the depths of my inner transformation. In the solitude of quiet evenings, as the world outside receded into a muted winter lull, I often found solace in my private moments of introspection. I would sit by the glow of the fireplace, a steaming mug of herbal tea in hand, and let the memories of the past mingle with the promises of the future. It was during these times that I penned my thoughts in a journal, each word a testament to the journey of self-discovery I had embarked upon. I wrote not only of the tender, inexplicable connection I shared with Dexter, but also of the liberation that came from embracing a love that defied conventional boundaries. In those intimate pages, I allowed myself the freedom to explore the myriad emotions that had surfaced: passion, defiance, longing, and above all, an unyielding determination to reclaim the parts of me that had been suppressed for too long. This newfound courage extended beyond the confines of my personal life. I began to engage more fully with the world around me, reconnecting with old friends and even daring to meet new people. Each interaction a reminder that I was not defined solely by the roles assigned to me by society. There was a profound beauty in recognizing that the heart is a repository of endless possibilities, capable of both tender affection and fierce independence. Dexter's quiet presence had become a catalyst for this awakening, a gentle yet insistent force that urged me to cast aside my doubts and embrace the full spectrum of my desires. Now, as I write these final lines by the soft light of an early winter dusk, I am filled with a sense of both gratitude and resolve. I have come to understand that the journey of the heart is rarely a straightforward path, and that true fulfillment lies not in conformity, but in the willingness to explore the uncharted territories of our own souls. My relationship with Dexter, a bond that, while unconventional, has awakened a depth of emotion and self-realization I never thought possible, remains a testament to the power of vulnerability, authenticity, and the quiet rebellion of the human spirit. Dear reader, as I close this chapter of my story, I invite you to reflect on your own hidden desires and the unspoken truths that lie within you. Life is a tapestry of choices and moments, each thread woven with the colors of our innermost passions and fears. Embrace the complexities of your heart and dare to live a life that is as bold and unapologetic as the one I am learning to cherish with every passing day.